Coming up in this week's Vendée Mag, Dalin and Yoann Richomme begin their sprint for the finish. Jean-Luc Van Den Heede, who podiumed in the first two Vendée Globes, talks about ice and Cape Horn, and Matt Bastar from French rock band Skip the Use on his songs inspired by Éric Bellion.
It's crazy what you see at Cape Horn.
After 53 days and 20 hours at sea, pirate Damien Seguin was whisked back to the 19th century, rounding Cape Horn alongside the three-masted bark Europa.
It's brightened up enough for us to see Cape Horn behind us. That's it, my friends. Cape Horn. Yahoo! We've finished with the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. It's time to change sport. The boxing match is over. Now, for a game of chess in the South Atlantic.
Seguin was 15th in the race at that point, with Roman Attanasio just ahead. The pair crossed the Pacific in unison and were looking to pick away through a high-pressure bubble between the Falklands and the South American coast.
Wow! Magnifique.
Wonderful!
A few hours later, Jean Le Cam became the 16th skipper to reach the last of the Great Capes on the Vendée Globe course, at night, but with no less emotion.
Good morning, Captain. Welcome to Chilean national waters.
It's a lot of emotion for us to pass the Cap on. It's for me it's a eight time I pass the Cap on. So okay, thank you very much.
There.
Once again, the times recorded at a cape reveal the huge gaps carved open by the front runners and new foilers over the rest of the fleet, while just 4 days separated them from the chasing group. 11th placed Yannick Besthaven was 5 days adrift before retiring, and the rest over a week in arrears. Skipper of the leading daggerboard boat was Jean Le Cam, 11 days behind Yoann Richomme and Dalin. But the veteran was showing himself to be a master route plotter, and particularly at ease in the conditions. Effective when sailing upwind, Le Cam could pose a threat to a few foilers up the Atlantic. Further north, the chasing group, lying 4th to 10th in the rankings, were often sailing upwind in a rough sea created by a low-pressure area. The 8 weeks at sea had left scars. Conditions were particularly demanding on the boats and their skippers.
I don't know what the hell this is, but I'm in deep shit. I've ruined the J2, for fuck's sake!
4th place Thomas Rouillon was caught in a local weather event, with a sudden tornado that knocked his boat flat.
I've shredded the J2 on the inside. Damn it. I've never seen anything like it. It rose to 60 knots for 2 hours. It was hell.
This Vendée Globe has brought one disappointment after another for Rouillon.
Not having this important sail will be a handicap. It won't be easy in the southeasterly and then the northeasterly trade winds. I'll be struggling against the boats who've come back well. I'm thinking of Paul in particular.
Paul Meyer had made the greatest progress and closed in on 4th place.
50 knots of wind, hail, lightning. The wind's died down. Earlier there were 40 or 50 knots in a squall. The sea state is now huge, but with not a lot of wind. It's not easy to sail at all in these conditions. Really, it's nerve-wracking.
The ascent along the South American coast was painstaking. Sailors had to tackle the semi-permanent front of Cabo Frio with its sudden wind changes and conditions that often fox the weather forecasting. Although the top 3 appeared to have the podium wrapped up, the race from 4th to 10th was shaping up to be a closely fought battle. Strategies differed as the high-flying sailors crossed transition zones and windless spots, jockeying for position in the race to the trade winds.
We've been sailing in really tough conditions for the past week. Since Cape Horn, I feel like my tactics aren't always spot on, but I think it's hard for everyone.
Jeremy Bayou led a group comprising Sam Goodchild, Boris Herman and Justine Metro to the west, off Brazil. A medium-term strategy along a coastal route to ensure continual wind, even if it meant manoeuvring in severe storms and squalls.
It's raining. Just having a shower.
It's not an easy route by any means. There's a slack zone to cross. Boris, Sam and Justy will catch up, and then I guess it'll gradually pick up again. I hope I won't spend too long in this transition zone. It's an opportunity to split from the group of three up ahead, Thomas, Paul and Nicholas. Take a different route to them and hopefully attack it a little bit more.
With Paul Meyer, Nicholas Lundven shifted east in search of a better angle and fast tack with wind on the beam. A more direct route to the equator, but had to navigate the curve of the high pressure area with a risk of falling into a wind hole. Lundven was without wind sensors since a violent squall had ripped off Holcim PRB's masthead unit.
The conditions are not just robust, they're also very changeable, with squalls and storms, so it's not easy to sail. You've just got to stay alert. I mean, I lost my aerials yesterday. The masthead unit was torn off along with the antennas and the aerials, so I don't have any wind data. Right, I'm at the top of the mast to see what I can do about this masthead unit, but unfortunately, looks like there's nothing I can do. It's a good job I came up though, because as it's flapping about, it's damaging the masthead, the sailhead car, and a halyard loop too. I just have to get down again now. What a pain. No aerial. It's high, isn't it? It's lovely though. The sea's flat, but it's still rocky.
Almost 1,000 miles ahead in third place, Sebastian Simon was sailing close to the Brazilian coastline before tacking north, but his big advantage meant he could contemplate a podium place thanks to his admirable handling of the damaged boat.
I'm still fighting to consolidate my position. I really don't have the weapons to take on the two leaders because I've got this missing foil, and I missed the train at the end of the Pacific. I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles, but I'm proud of what I've done with my boat, Groupe de Bray. There's still a little way to go yet. I'm managing to contain the chasing pack, and I'm quite confident for the time being. I just need to stay focused, but it's an incredible race. Now, I just can't wait to cross that finishing line, to enjoy it, let it all sink in. I can't sit back just yet.
Now was no time to rest for long-time front-runners Charlie Dalin and Yoann Richomme. To avoid the pitfalls of a tortuous South Atlantic, sleep gave way to more pressing matters, adjusting and optimising sail plans and maintaining and repairing tired equipment. The skippers would have to exploit every breeze and their boat's full potential in the sprint finish, where every hour lost could prove fatal.
There, it's one job done.
Once they finally had a steady southern trade wind in their sails, the pair extended their stride and enjoyed a few days of high speed once again. The race was fraught, the gap stretched and retracted, but despite huge pressure, the masterful Dalin sailed faultlessly to preserve his lead. He entered the Northern Hemisphere a mere 8 hours ahead of Richomme and 39 hours ahead of Simon.
We've made it! Woohoo! Dear Neptune, the time has come to thank you and to ask you for one last thing. To keep things as they are, through to Les Sables d'Olonne. For me, for the boat. Neptune can have it all.
The crossing of the doldrums was a formality. The two finalists now had their sights set on the final leg from the equator, with the promise of a finish worthy of the finest match racing. With the weak Azores high offering little opportunity, a low-pressure front from America should arrive in time to drive them into the Bay of Biscay. The race record should be beaten by around 10 days. Richomme's only chance lies in the final upwind tacks into Les Sables d'Olonne.
It might leave something to play for on the home straight, and while ever that's the case, I'm happy. I'm second right now and sniffing for a chance to maybe catch up. Last sunset in the trade winds for Massif. We're progressing northwards at a good speed. The temperature's dropping quickly though. I'm spending quite a bit of time lately on the weather to find the best line, the one that'll take us to Les Sables d'Olonne as soon as we can get there. We're nearly there now.
A long, long way behind, the 5 backmarkers patiently skirted along the edge of the ice zone towards Point Nemo in the heart of the Pacific. An area of high pressure slowed down the skippers, who were on red alert for the icebergs encountered by their predecessors a week earlier.
There you have it. As you can see, it's dead calm in the Pacific. We'll get out, but it ain't half long.
At Cape Horn, after 6 days of repair and despite his race retirement, Yannick Besthaven set sail again to complete his round the world.
I'm just so happy to set off again and head back to Les Sables d'Olonne. Sadly, I'm really out of the race, but I'll do my utmost to try and finish with a flourish.
A few miles behind, the daggerboard contingent led by Benjamin Ferret was preparing for a rough ride.
If ever there was a time not to dawdle in the Vendée Globe, I guess this is it. It's a true race against the clock. Not only do we need to round Cape Horn as fast as we can, but there's a big weather front coming from behind, and it looks nasty. So the sooner we're through, the less we'll get battered. And above all, there's this big Bertha brewing in the Andes over the next couple of days.
Au cœur de la cordillère des Andes, d'ici 2 jours.
That's why Violette, Eric, quite a few, in fact, have decided to try and slow down. We're in this slot with the tiniest of windows to get through, but it is quite frightening.
I'm dead worried. I'm terrified by the prospect of going in there. This morning I panicked because I couldn't face going into a low pressure system with forecasts of 40 knots of wind, with gusts up to 55 knots, 58 even on one of the files. So it wasn't an easy decision, but this morning I decided to slow down, let it all pass by, because my aim is to finish. I don't want to find myself in danger with 6-metre waves and wind that make me lose control of my boat.
I've decided to slow down and let it through. Like it to give way? Callie wanted to forge ahead, but Arnaud didn't. So we needed to come to an agreement. Arnaud is the voice of reason, and Callie's the freak. We talked a lot and had a debate. We didn't vote because there's no democracy on board.
Partira de nuit l'heure où l'on doute que demain revienne encore. Loin des villes soumises, on suivra.
Ahead of these wise sailors, the bunch lying between 20th and 26th place, over 14 days behind the leading pair, was trying to make progress before hitting a huge low between Cape Horn and the Falkland Islands. The tension was rising, but all savoured this dream come true of rounding the southern tip of America single-handed in a sailing boat.
Cape Horn, my friends! Cape Horn! We've made it! I'm so happy. My dreams come true. Amazing.
Cape Horn, baby. This is proof that even in light wind, dreams can come true.
You're never happy to climb the mast. But when it's to see that, it's wonderful. I'm overcome. Believe me, I'm thrilled. It's super to have made it here. The weather's ideal. Superb visibility of Cape Horn. There's not much wind, so I guess it'll be in view for a while yet. Hello, Atlantic. We're back. Left turn, the kick up the rear to beat the Andes storm and full speed ahead. We've hooked up the caravan and we're on our way home. There's a month of racing left, my friends.
With the race climax almost upon us, L'Ensemble de Dalin is getting ready to cheer the leaders expected from Tuesday evening. But the adventure for the rest of the fleet in this 10th Vendée Globe should go on until late February. Jean-Luc Van Den Heede is widely regarded as the French sailor with the greatest experience of Cape Horn, having rounded it both ways during his distinguished career. With 2 podiums in the first 2 Vendée Globe races, Jean-Luc is this week's expert. Hi, Jean-Luc.
Hello.
How many times have you raced round Cape Horn?
Only half a dozen times racing.
And in all?
Well, if I count my records and the cruises, I suppose it would be a dozen times.
Tell us about the storms at Cape Horn. What's so special about them?
Well, the first thing you have to think about is it's where the ocean narrows, so it creates this bottleneck between South America on one side and Antarctica on the other. Now, in addition to that, the towering mountain chain of the Andes often blocks the lows, just what it's doing now, and so they roll down at that point. In addition to that, its reputation also stems from way back in the 19th century, during the gold rush. People back then tried to cross it from east to west, so really they were attempting to round it the wrong way. I guess inevitably the ships of the time, 3- and 4-masted ships, struggled to sail upwind, and the result was all sorts of accidents and shipwrecks, which meant Cape Horn got this infamous reputation.
You've sailed much further south into the ice zone than the current Vendée Globe skippers. Can you talk about the anxiety we've seen in the skipper's eyes, especially with Sébastien Marseille last week?
Oh, the ice is dreadful. Now, back then, we had no idea where the ice was. I sailed 56 degrees south, then 60 degrees, 61 degrees, and 62 degrees. All this in the middle of the Pacific, just before Point Nemo. I saw my first big iceberg, just like today's skippers. As night fell, I found myself surrounded by what looked like fused icebergs. That gave me the impression that I was entering a bay. I thought I'd have to turn back, but actually the icebergs weren't stuck to each other, it turns out. I did manage to weave my way through, but after that, you're constantly under stress, keeping watch for 24 to 48 hours. Titouan Lamazou also saw icebergs up ahead, and he gave me their positions. Oh, it was incredibly nerve-wracking for us both in this first Vendée Globe, especially since back then radars weren't compulsory. I didn't have one, so of course that added to the stress. It really was one of my worst moments of the Vendée Globe.
Although it obviously restricts the skippers and their tactical choices, do you think the Antarctic ice exclusion zone is a good thing?
Oh, absolutely. Remember that the Vendée Globe is a race, and as Charlie Dalin pointed out recently, there's absolutely no need to put your life at risk. Nowadays, CLS Argos tracks exactly where the icebergs are, and once the race zone is defined and the first boats have gone through, the race committee can no longer make any changes. The icebergs that were spotted drifted some way north, which is why the backmarkers are coming across them now.
Thanks, Jean-Luc. Now, Éric Bellion is a skipper who likes to share his feelings. Singer Matt Bastard from the band Skip the Use has teamed up with Éric on a project called Sail and Sound. Éric's feelings as a skipper inspire Matt and his Ghost Play music collective, who release a new track every week based on what Éric shares with them. So, roll the music.
Everybody stand as one.
That's good. Matt has sent me a new song. I'll be hearing it for the first time with you.
I am the one to fight the pain below. I can make things turn red. Whatever they could say, I'd do it. Even a sad picture could make a nice story. The best is up to come for you and me.
At the start of each week, Eric sends me this voice recording. He tells me what his strongest feeling is that week, sharing what's been happening, how he's feeling, how the boat's going. Basically anything that's had a strong emotional impact on him. So I figure out the main emotion, and then I think, how can I translate this feeling into music? I compose a piece of music, I write some lyrics, and then send it on WhatsApp to Eric. He listens, there's this back and forth for a while. Once everyone's happy with it, we release it, and then get ready for the next week.
What a joy to be at sea.
The first song is called La Danse du Vent. It's really about clearing your mind, doing anything else, just for a minute, to release all the tension. That's the vibe, really. So every week we focus on a different feeling and turn it into music. The Vendée Globe is full of ups and downs, but there's a race going on. Eric faced a mechanical issue, a big down, but he fixed it and set sail again, a big up. If another problem arises, he'll have to acknowledge that it follows on really from the first, so this down is different. In fact, it's never quite the same, and that's really what the Vendée Globe's all about.
The feelings are like punches. Bam, bam, bam. We're so receptive here. It's been 50 days since I've seen a real human face, or in fact touched anyone. You know, I've only been sleeping, what, 2-3 hours a day for 50 days. So when it comes to emotion, we're at our peak.
Composing a song in a week, from A to Z, it's really difficult. I didn't even know if I could do it at the outset. I guess it's like my own personal Vendée Globe.
Qu'est-ce qu'il fait, papa?
Papy et papa se courent après et ils regardent les mêmes étoiles. Mamie et maman leur ont parlé, elles trouvent ça pas très raisonnable. Papy lui il parle pas beaucoup, je trouve qu'il parle avec les yeux. Mamie le regarde et il sourit, ça veut dire qu'il est heureux.
There's a song called Lena. It was extremely hard for him to leave Lena behind. So we chose not to release it straight away because it might have been a bit too much for him to handle emotionally.
Je sais pas si je vais trouver les mots, et si je les trouve, je te les dirai pas. Tiens, je te donne les clés du château, il paraît que c'est moi le roi. Je te suis, je te vois.
Heartbeat was composed by Anthea. That song is all about adrenaline. That week, Eric made the most of his boat's capabilities, and he could say to himself, I'm going super fast, going really fast. Wow, it was great.
I listened to the song and went wild, dancing like crazy. It's brilliant, Anthea and Matt. It's really wonderful. I really needed that.
Anyone who knows Éric Bellion knows he's not just an elite sailor, he's also someone with pretty strong convictions. He wants to turn this into something tangible and share all the emotions of the Vendée Globe with everyone. I think we all face our own Vendée Globes in life. By succeeding in his, Éric shows how we can succeed in ours.
Ça nous donne des clés pour réussir les nôtres.
Je raconte des histoires qui mettent les larmes aux yeux. Et c'est à coup de trop tard que je réponds à Dieu. J'irai cracher jusqu'au ciel, par-delà les nuages. J'ai oublié l'essentiel, j'ai jauni avant l'âge.